Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krito Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunyama Devaha Bhadram Pashye Makshabhir Yadatraha Sthirairangai Shushtavagam Sastanubhi Peshema Devahitayadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashavaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti Nastakshyo Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brahaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We all make an effort, do some karma with an end in view. Otherwise, there is no karma. Why would you do anything unless you have a specific end in view? This is what, in fact, sometimes causes confusion in the minds of people when you chant the Bhagavad Gita Slokam, Karmanye Vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. If you don't have control over phala, why should you do any work? But we do have some goal, something we want to achieve. And that propels us to do certain action, certain karma. One category of karma is what is known as laukika karma or kamya karma. I have a certain desire to gain something or to get rid of something. I do some karma. I study hard because I want to do well in an exam. I want to top the class. I make an effort in every direction because I want to achieve something. Kamya karma. Somebody gets into business, you ask him, why do you want to get into business? It's a painful process to make money. Okay, whatever his purpose is. Because he doesn't really examine beyond that. But he does have some purpose. That karma produces both drishtaphala and adrishtaphala. What is drishtaphala? Is simply a phala that you can relate to the karma directly. I got into business and worked very, very hard with the purpose of making a lot of money. And then he finds that he doesn't make money. But when he makes money, he relates to the fact that I work very hard. When he doesn't make money, he doesn't relate to that. He says all conditions were wrong. Nothing was favorable to me. But there is a direct relationship that you see. You clap, you hear a sound. There's a visible drishtaphala. directly connectable to the karma. But every karma also produces an adrishta phala. Our kamya karma generally is meant to produce what we think is the drishta phala. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it produces the result that we want to gain. Sometimes it produces less results than that. Sometimes it produces more results than what I wanted. And sometimes completely different results. All are possible. There is one type of karma. Then there is karma which can be called Vaidika karma. Vaidika karma typically can also be two types. Putra kameshti karma is also Vaidika karma. I do putra kameshti karma because or whoever it is, does that to get a progeny. And the Shastra says the result will be there if it is done correctly. And there's enough indirect evidence to show that this works. That is Drishtapala. But there are many things in the Vaidika karma which is not easy to relate to the karma itself. The phala cannot be related directly to the karma. You do Sandhyavandanam. It's a Vaidika karma. That Vaidika karma, what result does it produce? Or you do prayer. Every morning, you light the lamp and you pray to Ishvara, whatever the prayer is. Ganapati Gumma Havamahe Kavin Kavinam or Bhadram Karnebi, whatever the prayer that you do. The Drishtapala there, at the end of the prayer, is a certain feeling of well-being. A certain feeling that I have taken some action. A certain feeling that I have taken this action to produce certain result. I have not been sitting helplessly. But there is also an adrishtapala which you cannot see, which you cannot link directly with the karma. That adrishtapala can be in the form of punya. By itself, what is the purpose of getting punya? Again, punya karma produces punya karma phala, which can put us in a situation which is pleasant. It could be here in this loka itself, or it could be in another loka after the death of this body. Neither of which can be verified to be directly related to the karma. Therefore, called adrishtapala. But how do you know it produces a result? I know because Shastra tells me it does. While the drishtapala I can feel. We do the Ekadasi Parayanam, 18 chapters of Gita, and then we do the Archana and the Puja. At the end of it, everybody feels a sense of elation, a sense of completeness, a sense of well-being. That is direct Drishtapala. But it also produces phala, which we cannot connect to this activity. Then there is all this Vaidika karma is all form of upasana, prayers, dhyanam, japa. All of these will produce both Drishtapala and Adrishtapala. Drishtaphala in the sense of successful completion of whatever you set out to do. Even if it is something that you do daily 3 times like Sandhya Vandanam. But Swamiji, I do Sandhya Vandanam every day, but I don't feel any elation. I'm so rushed to go to work in the morning that where is your attention when you're doing Sandhya Vandanam? Is it that I will miss my train to go to work? Then obviously you will not get that Drishtaphala. It also produces Adrishtaphala. This is all comes under Upasana. And then there is another set of activity which we broadly classify under Jnanam. Jnanam also produces phala. What is the activity directly involved in the Jnanam? Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. All mental activity. Hear the Shastra, contemplate upon it, remove all doubts, focus on the few words that you heard during Shravanam. Both Drishtaphala and Adrishtaphala are produced. There's a big difference. Any karma, any upasana you do, you complete the upasana and then you get the phala. It follows. Jnanam, generally in terms of Laukika Jnanam, is also the same. But when we talk about Atma Jnanam, it is not a sequential operation. That Jnanam is the phala. All the Upanishads lead us there. Gain that Jnanam, then what? Then there's nothing. Jnanam is the phala. What is that Jnanam you're trying to gain there? Again, Jnanam that Shastra is telling us is that you are complete. There is nothing more. So it is the phala itself. Yugapat Jnanam eva moksha. And every Upanishad covers this in some form. Every Upanishad also touches upon the upasana in some form. This Upanishad spends a lot of time in the upasana. Atharvashirshopanishad, because it appears the head of the Atharva Veda. Which is why it is used extensively in all Ganapathi Puja. What's called Ganapathi Atharvashirshopanishad. There are many Upanishads. We've seen that the name Upanishad itself implies that which gives me knowledge of the self, of what is closest to me, Upa, which is the self, Nishchayena, without leaving any baki, and which removes ignorance from the very roots, Unmulayati. So every Upanishad, if you apply this definition, will tell you the same thing. Knowledge of the self, which knowledge once gained is complete in itself. There is no question of saying, I forgot. And that knowledge is moksha. But directly to get there is a very difficult job. A lot of preparation required. So every Upanishad will briefly touch upon that, upon the Jagat, upon Jagat Karanam Brahma in the form of Ishvara, and then gently lead us to that knowledge of Brahman, of the self, which is Ekameva Advitiya, which is I, Atma. This Upanishad, there are several verses that will talk about the Upasana. This Upasana, this prayer, typically, what do? You glorify Ishvara. You sing praises of Ishvara. You ask for the internal strength, physical and mental strength, to gain this knowledge. You ask for getting rid of all the papa so that I am better prepared to gain this knowledge. In the very Dhyana Slokam, we have seen this. And several other sloka you will see the same thing. We saw in the chest that Om Akshara. That Alambanam can be used both for Upasana and for Nididhyasana. This Upanishad also does. Of the many Upanishads that are available, 10 are considered, they use the word major. It's not a very appropriate word perhaps, simply because Adi Shankaracharya has written commentary, bhashyam on these 10. Isha Kena Kato Prashna Mundaka Mandukya Taitreya Aitreya Chandogya Bradharnika. These 10, taken from all the 4 Vedas, there is detailed bhashyam available. But once you have studied any one of these Veda, any one of these Upanishad, it is relatively easy to pick up another Upanishad like Kaivalya Upanishad, which does not have a bhashyam, or this Upanishad, Atharvashirshopanishad, which doesn't have bhashyam by Shankaracharya. Other people wrote bhashyam on this also. And study it. And understand the same knowledge of the I by studying this as well. We are not using any of the bhashyam, but we will try to understand that the language is relatively simple if you've already done some Upanishads. And all of you have done at least one Upanishad earlier. So this Upanishad, called Atharvashirshopanishad, because like I said, it appears the head of the Atharva Veda. Upanishads are named, they all have, they are the same message. But because we study more than one Upanishad, because that knowledge to stay, to assimilate is not very easy. Therefore, we study many Upanishads, which uses different types of prakarana, methodology, approach, perspective to gain the same knowledge. We have to distinguish one from the other. We studied Kenopanishad simply because it's called Kenopanishad because the first word happens to be Kena. Similarly, Ishavashopanishad, Ishavashyam Idagam Sarvam, Starts with Isha, therefore Ishopanishad. Which also, unfortunately, some groups have tried to appropriate by saying Isha Upanishad is Upanishad given by Ishu, Christ. And there are many other Upanishads which have different names. Undaka, Mandukya, Prashnopanishad, because it is based on 6 prashnas asked by the students. This is called or either Ganapathi Upanishad, because it is focused on Ganapathi as the Lord, or Atharvashirshopanishad, or together Ganapathi Atharvashirshopanishad. And starts with a simple prayer. Other than the Dhyana Slokam, this Upanishad itself starts with a simple prayer. Om Namo Ganapataye. That's the first Vakya. Om, we have seen, is Mangala Suchakam. And more than Mangala Suchakam, it encompasses everything. However, whichever way you analyze the word Om, it is Akshara, single syllable, Om. Akshara also means that which cannot be destroyed. Naksharati. It also means, it derived from the word Ava, Rakshane. Therefore, it's also prayer. It also covers the entire sounds that can be produced between A, O, and Ma. And we've seen that the whole Jagat is nothing but Nama Rupa. And Nama is nothing but range of sounds. It is also considered the primordial sound. Science has been desperately trying to find out how this sound, this vibration of Om would have produced the entire Jagat. Lots of theories floating around on that also. So as with every other text, it starts with Om. Om is everything. You can use Om for anything. Om is hello. Om is thank you. Om is bye-bye. Om is welcome. Everything is Om. Om Namaste Ganapataye. Namaste is Namaha Te. To you, Te Namaha. My salutations. In our tradition, we say Namaste. Not only to Ishvara, but to every human being. In these days of COVID, we don't want to shake hands. The world could easily have adopted Namaste. But they want to do what? Elbow touching or fist touching, which has no meaning. The world is not ready yet to accept Namaste. Te Namaha. Because our thinking, our Shastra, makes us look at every being as Ishvara. If everything is Ishvara, every being is Ishvara. Sarva bhutastam atmanam sarva bhutani cha atmani. He who is able to see this, he is the Dhira Purusha. Big problem we have. We are not able to see this. Shastra tells us how we can look at it. All comes from Iripadalam Irevane. How Iripadalam Irevane? Isha Vashyam Idagam Sarvam. Everything here is nothing but Isha. Not the Isha Foundation, okay? Ishvara, the Lord of everything. Because everything arises from this Ishvara. Therefore, I have no problem accepting anybody as Ishvara. Accepting myself as Ishvara. Sometimes people ask, why do you put a bindi? One good explanation for that is, you are Ishvara, and this you can take as a temple. You do the same thing as you would do to Ishvara. In every time you do puja, yani kani cha papani, whatever papas I have done, may this be removed. I do pradakshanam. Every step of the pradakshanam, may these papas be removed. Sometimes you don't do pradakshanam. You do pradakshanam to yourself. Because you are Ishvara. And if you are Ishvara, and everybody is Ishvara, saying namaste to anybody is not an issue. But Swami Ji is such a bad man. Who are you to define somebody as a bad man or a good man? Maybe he's not been dharmic. And if he's not been dharmic, that as an individual, not as Ishvara, as an individual, because he has this concept of an individual, the same individual will experience the phala. Either immediately as Drishtaphala or unknowingly as Adrishtaphala. Either in this Janma or another Janma somewhere else. That is an individual. And every individual is nothing but Mithya Jagat. Individuality is Mithya. Because of the misconception of I, because of the ego, because of the association of the I with this body, with this mind, I attach an individuality which doesn't exist. Except in the realm of transactions. A small pot cannot get jealous of a big pot. That pot is so big. They're both clay. When you understand that, there is no small pot, big pot. But from a transactional perspective, a small pot can carry only a small amount of water, a big pot can carry larger amount of water. Only from a transactional perspective. I'm not saying it's unimportant. In fact, it's an important, necessary step for you to move. That is why Upasana becomes important. Prayer to Ishvara, asking, please help me understand how I can see everything is equal. Purpose of Upasana is that. Therefore, Namaste, Namaha Te, my salutations to you. There are two words, in fact, that are used very commonly. You would have heard them every time you sit in a puja. Namaha, which will become Namo, or Namaste, Sakara will come instead of the Visarga. Namaste. Om Namo Narayanaya. Or Om Namah Shivaya. Mean the same, Namaha. And the other one you will hear is Namama. Idam Namama. What is Namama? Na Mama, not mine. What is yours? In the first place, the false concept of I is there. That is why mine can come. Otherwise, there is no mine. Even there, even if you take from a transactional perspective, Laukika perspective, a concept of I, what is yours? Nothing. Everything is given. The body is given, the mind is given. In fact, if you say my body, look at the number of claimants on your body. Your parents say, no, 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 belongs to me. I created this body. I nourished it and made it big. Your country will demand it. Your body belongs to this country. Your employer will demand it. It belongs to you. Therefore, na mama. The puja, many times you say this. When you understand that what you're trying to say is there is nothing called I and nothing called mama other than Brahman. There's only Brahman, and that has to be I. Every other concept of I is a mistaken notion. We've seen that earlier. The body cannot be I. The mind cannot be I. The senses cannot be I. Many ways you can dismiss them being I. One of the simplest ways is to understand if the body were I, the body has to be unchanging. You cannot have an I this instant and I another I next instant. Nor is a combination, the complex be I. I cannot say, no, no, sir, this not only this body, but the whole combination of body, mind, everything is I. How? They're all changing. And they're changing independent of each other, not even changing together. Or you look at the other way. You just saw mind. Anything which is mind cannot be I. My glasses, not I. My hair, not I. What little left of it. My body, how can it be I? We know it's not possible. And yet, we are willy-nilly forced into not rejecting it. Because we don't have an alternative. We reject all this. I am left with the I hanging. And I can't leave it like that because I know I exist. Oh, when you say namaste, there's so much behind it. Namahate. We ourselves don't understand what is namaste. How can you expect the world to understand? And in this says Om Namaste Ganapataye. Te Ganapataye. To this Lord Ganapati. To you, my salutations. We can say this Namaste to anybody, I said. To any being, any human being, we can say. Right? We can say to any being, it doesn't matter. Once you understand the sameness. You can also say it to every Deva. I know that Aditya Deva, the sun, he is the presiding deity for eyes. As I keep saying, as the domain expert for eyes. And if I have a problem with eye, I repeat Aditya Hridayam every day as a prayer to Lord Aditya. I can say Namaste Aditya. Adityaya Edma. Or I can say it to my Ishta Devata. Lord Krishna is my Ishta Devata. Om Namaste Krishnaya. Here, Om Namaste Ganapataye. Ganapati is the name Ganapataye to Lord Ganapati. So you can look at it in the form of a Devata as one of the many forms manifested of Ishvara. We know that Ishvara manifests in the form of the entire Jagat. This is a little model we have available. Panchabhutas initially as Sukshma Bhutas, then to a process called Panchikaranam as Sthula Bhutas, and then into all the sentient and non-sentient beings, including Devatas. So one can look at it and say, Namaste Ganapataye. Ye Bhagavan Ganapati with an elephant head. That's a manifestation. My prayer, my salutation to you. One could also look at it as saying, to that Lord, who is the Lord of all the Ganas, groups of Devatas. Devatas also have the meaning, senses. Gananam Pati, Ganapati. Pati meaning Lord. The Lord of all the Ganas. Now you know that not only humans and animals, but Devatas also come in groups. So one who is the Ishvara of all of them, one who does not have a Lord. Therefore, one could look at Ganapataye as that supreme Eka from which all the others come. And therefore, the prayer to Ishvara. Bhagavad Gita, when you study, we also see that Bhagavan says, every puja you do to any devata, as long as you do with Shraddha, it comes to me only. When you recognize Ishvara, and I then dispense the phala. There's no physical Ishvara in the form of the law, the order. Therefore, the very first sentence in this says, Om Namo Ganapataye. We recognize this Ganapati as the creator of everything. We have given it a form called Ganapati. But for our convenience, Tvameva Pratyaksham Tattvamasi. Hey Ganapati, you are the very reality of everything. Everything that is manifest, you are the reality. Now, just as one thing, if you analyze and go deeper and deeper, your Upanishad is complete. The reality of everything, the very ashraya for everything, is only one, ekameva advitiya. Nothing exists, cannot exist without this ekameva advitiya. Call it Brahman, call it Om, call it Ganapati, it doesn't matter. That which, being the reality of everything, gives rise to this many different forms. The Atma of everything. Like our famous gold is the Atma of every golden ornament. No golden ornament can exist without that Atma. But in that world, universe of golden ornaments, so many ornaments exist. Small, big, beautiful, not so beautiful. Ones that adorn the neck, ones that adorn the ears. Different shapes, different sizes, different qualities, and different purposes. Everything in the Jagat is like that. They exist because of that one Advitiya Satyam. Eva Pratyaksham Tattvam. Tattvam is reality. Tattvamasi. You are the Tattvam of everything. Gold is the Tattvam of every golden ornament. Clay is the Tattvam of every clay product. From a foot scraper to a necklace, whatever it's called. Not necklace itself, but what hangs in the necklace. To a pot or a jar or a lid or whatever it is, of different shapes, sizes and purposes. In this Jagat, it looks like there are so many things of so many different shapes, sizes and purposes. All Namarupa. There is only one Atma of every one of these. Only one Satyam. Advitiya Satyam. Once one is able to see that, then it naturally brings us to the other question of saying, if that is true, all that I thought I was, which is this body, this mind, the senses, the thoughts, the feelings, they are also in the same category. They also become non-self-existing. They also become ones that are dependent on their existence for that one Atma. But none of these is I. Therefore, what is I? you end up at the inevitable understanding that that which is the tattvam of everything has to be I. So I am therefore the very cause of the creation of this Jagat. If Upanishad were to start with that, very first Upanishad you read and it says, you are the creator of the Jagat. It will never register. But having studied a few, you can understand what it's saying. Whatever is pratyaksham, in fact, whatever is paroksham as well, the tattvam behind that is you, Hey Ganapathi. Meva pratyaksham tattvamasi. Because you are the one who created this Jagat. And therefore the Jagat is dependent on you for its existence. Jagat means everything in the Jagat. Sentient, insentient, small, big, near, far, everything. Everything is nothing but that Ishvara. Ishvara is none of them. Clay is not the pot, clay is not the lid, clay is not the foot scraper, but every one of them is nothing but clay. When we study Chandogya Upanishad, we will see 9 such examples that comes up with. Which hopefully will make us think and understand this. That there has to be a ashraya, that which is the one that gives satta to everything. And we keep repeating that you cannot separate them. They are not separable because if you try to separate, everything in this Jagat has no self-existence. If you separate, nothing exists. We cannot separate. Not physically, but in understanding. That clay pot, clay lid, clay everything are nothing but clay. It has to be just an understanding. Once that understanding is there, the clay pot doesn't go away. Clay pot is still there. The lid is still there. But when I look at the clay pot and the clay lid, I see not only the clay pot, I see the tattvam behind that as clay. I keep saying in the universe of gold ornaments, the bullion trader is a jnani. The bullion trader looks at a gold necklace where the women are going, oh, how beautiful. He only says, 20 tolas or whatever, carats, or not carats, what do they use? He only says that. He's a jnani. If we can look at that in the whole world like that, and then take the huge step saying that Ekameva Adviti is I. You're a jnani. Meva pratyaksham tattvamasi. Because you created this Jagat. Tvameva kevalam kartasi. The Jagat cannot exist on its own. The pot did not suddenly appear. There has to be clay, and then there has to be a pot maker. The clay does not transform into a pot. An intelligence is required. A sentiency is required. That is the purpose to this clay pot. It has to hold water. You cannot make a lump of clay and say, okay, this is pot. There is a nama, there is a rupa, and there is a function. How did that happen? Because there is an intelligent karanam. There is the clay, which is a material karanam, and there is also an intelligence. This entire Jagat, if you look at, everything has a name, form, and a purpose. How did this happen? This, like the clay, is there a lump called Brahman, which transforms into the multiple things that we see in the Jagat. Where is the equivalent of the pot maker? Is there a separate pot maker? In the form of, in the case of clay, there is a clay pot, there is a clay, and there is a separate pot maker. You take the pot home, the pot maker doesn't come with it. Buy pot, get pot maker free. There is a pot maker. How do you compare it when you look at the Jagat? There is this whole Jagat, so many different things are there and so many varieties are there. And the Jagat, remember, is not only what we see on the earth, the entire cosmos, the entire universe, including the Loka that we don't see, but we read about in our Shastra. All of them are there. They have been put together, assembled, created, because they are dependent existence. And if they've been put together, there has to be a material cause and an intelligent cause. If I tell you, you are that cause, both the material cause and the intelligent cause. How can I be the cause? I have so many problems. The pain, which is also something that's been caused, I have that all the time. I can't sit straight for 10 minutes. My back hurts. That is also part of the Jagat, which has also been created. Why would I create this pain? But pain also belongs to the Jagat. Pain is also mithya. How can you reconcile this fact that there is a ekameva advitiyam, Brahman, I, Atma, Om, and the fact that we are saying there must be a material cause and there must be an intelligent cause? How can it be ekameva advitiyam? No second, only one. And here I am saying there are two. One material cause and one intelligent cause. We will look at this a little bit more detail in tomorrow's class. how can that Ishvara, which I have to eventually understand is I, be both the material cause and the intelligent cause? And how does it help create this entire Jagat? We will not go into why the Jagat is created. That question is called Anadi. There is no beginning. What was there before, Swami? There was no before. Time was also created. Where before? We will look at these details in the next class tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.